Deciding on a loadout before a run in Arc Raiders can be one of the most difficult decisions in the game, as you want to strike a perfect balance of what you need but also what you're willing to part with, as each run is a battle for resources in which you can gain and lose everything. You need to decide what guns and grenades you need for Arc, what weapons can help you out in a PvP situation, and what tools might help you trek across the surface. And while there is no perfect loadout for every run, in this Game Rant video I've tried to compile my favorite loadouts for each map in the game based on the presence of Arc, the size of the map, and the tendencies for PvP. So let's look at the best loadouts for each map in Arc Raiders. First, let's start at Dam Battlegrounds. Dam Battlegrounds is the perfect middle map, neither too large nor too small, neither too violent nor too peaceful. It represents the balance of Arc Raiders, and as such requires a balanced loadout. For Dam Battlegrounds, I like to bring my favorite ranged gun in the game, that being the Renegade, as it's great for dealing with distant pick fights, can be utilized for the first few shots of an indoor skirmish, and is great at toppling mid-sized and small Arc enemies. It's a great all-around weapon, with its only real weakness coming in up-close fights. So on Dam Battleground, I feel a good pairing weapon is the Stitcher, usually with an extended light mag and a muzzle brake to give it more ammo and less recoil, allowing it to make up for some of the deficiencies if fights span larger gaps. This combo has gotten me through a lot of PvP and PvE scenarios on Dam Battlegrounds, and I highly recommend it. For the augment slot, I like to go with the Tactical Mark II, a perfect augment for any map with distant fights. This augment gives you a decent amount of storage, the ability to use a medium shield, an extra grenade slot or healing slot, and a tactical space for tools. The main benefit of the Tactical Mark II on this map though is its smoke grenade deploy that pops whenever your shield gets broken. This is huge if you're in an open field and someone starts firing at you. It can allow you to get away when otherwise you probably wouldn't have. One other item I almost always have in this loadout is a couple of zip lines. This map is super vertical, and a lot of times if you need to get away quickly, it can be really nice to have these in your pocket, allowing you to zip down from higher platforms. Also, on Dam Battlegrounds, there aren't that many extraction points, so I almost always take a Raider hatch key. Next, Buried City. For Buried City, I like to run an anvil, as this map doesn't include that many large open spaces. But it does include a lot of Arc, and the anvil is an incredibly effective weapon against Arc. While it does use heavy bullets and isn't great at distance, the size of the map makes the anvil an almost perfect weapon. Its pairing is incredibly important though, as there are a lot of tight spaces on Buried City, close corridors where PvP often breaks out. Because of that, I suggest taking one of the 3 best PvP guns in Arc Raiders, those being the El Toro, the Stitcher, or in my preference, the Venator. The Venator is the best gun of these 3 for this map, as its power, decent range, and rapid fire make it amazing here, and a perfect combo with the anvil. This gun can take care of any PvP you encounter, while the anvil handles all the Arc. Since this map does have a lot of Arc, I typically bring quite a few healing items with me on Buried City loadouts, and I bring 3 trigger nades so that if I need to take out a big Arc machine, I have the capability of doing so. That, comboed with the anvil, can take down a Bastion or a Bombardier in quick fashion. I also usually take a Raider hatch key on this map, as extraction campers are rampant in the tunnels. For the augment, I usually go with a Looting Mark II and a light shield, as this map is all about getting a ton of junk, both to sell and to scrap, making the holding capacity of the Looting Mark II perfect. After that, we have Stella Montis. My Stella Montis loadout is consistent, and it's going to be a bit perplexing to some. I always take the El Toro, as in close corridors, its firepower is unmatched, blowing away foes in 2 or 3 shots. But for my secondary, I take a gun for Arc, and that gun is the Beretta. I know, the Beretta isn't the sexiest gun in the game, and it honestly might be one of the worst in a lot of situations, but against ticks, pops, and fireballs, this thing is a lifesaver. Its quick time to fire and fast ADS mean that a sneaky pop or an annoying tick can be dropped before they get the jump on you. It's super helpful in these situations, and I don't feel too bad if I die and lose it. That's a big point to your Stella Montis loadout. You have to be okay with losing whatever you bring, as this map is extremely violent, and most runs will end with you dead on the floor. Bring stuff that isn't expensive. I would almost never take a Venator into this map, as it's just not worth losing. For this loadout, I also recommend taking the Looting Mark II, due to its ability to shed off ticks after 1 second, something that can be really clutch here. If you're going to bring a grenade, a lure grenade or a snap blast grenade can be great for dealing with the shred shredders. I also wouldn't worry about bringing a raider hatch key, as the raider hatches are few on this map and extracts are pretty easily accessible. The next map on the list is Blue Gate. Every time I go to Blue Gate, I find myself doing a puzzle, whether that be the one at Raider's Refuge, the one at the Ancient Fort, or even the one in Reinforced Perception. As such, I often pack a loadout that can defend me while I'm looting and fight my way out if I get trapped. This means I usually grab a few explosive mines, or jolt mines, the powerful LMG, the Torrente, and the Combat Mark II, which gives me passive healing and a medium shield. I'm basically always prepped for a big fight, as the good loot in these areas can come at a high cost. To deal with Arc, I usually pair my Torrente with an Anvil, as the Torrente is good against Arc, but it's a massive waste of ammo. Regardless, this loadout is pretty cut and dry. It's built around power and the ability to dish out massive amounts of damage, as Blue Gate has turned into one of the most hostile maps in the game. This loadout is also especially good if you're playing in duos or trios, as the Torrente is one of the best guns for taking fights when you're outnumbered. It can also be good to toss a few Snap Blast grenades in there, as they're incredibly effective against the flying Arc enemies that run rampant on this map. Finally, Spaceport. Spaceport is a map of extremes. Most of the time you'll be fighting at crazy distances, picking back and forth between open fields or shooting someone as they run across one. But when this map does have up close and personal fights, it's usually in really tight corridors, whether that's in the tunnels under the tower, in the tower itself, or in the surrounding warehouses. These fights are distant until they aren't. As such, I recommend bringing a Renegade and an El Toro. The Renegade can take care of any long distance engagement that you get into, and it can also handle a lot of the medium range fights. If an enemy ever gets too close, you're at a huge advantage though with the El Toro. The Renegade is also great against Arc enemies that you may come across. Speaking of Arc, I usually grab 3 Snap Blast grenades and 3 Trailblazers, as the Arc machine I run into the most on this map is the Leaper, as there is a couple near extracts around the map, and the Trailblazer absolutely deletes the Leaper. The Tactical Mark II that I mentioned earlier is also a vital piece of kit on this map, as its ability to deploy a smoke grenade when your shield gets broken can be a lifesaver when you're traipsing across the massive open areas. Like on Damn Battlegrounds, I also recommend bringing ziplines due to the map's verticality and openness. And since this map is so huge, I'd also take a couple of adrenaline shots to give you the ability to sprint without tiring across these spaces. So those were my loadout suggestions for each map in Arc Raiders. Obviously, this varies heavily person to person, as what works for me might not work for you. I'm not a particularly excellent shot, so a lot of the guns I tend to go with make up for that. There are also plenty of ways to use higher level gear, but I don't really like the feeling of losing expensive equipment. Typically, the highest cost guns I run are blue. But what are your loadouts? Let us know down in the comments below. That's all, and thanks for watching.